Whenever we clash, it's Star Wars. We call it Star Wars. What happens when the shots ring out? It's called Star Wars.
What's up, everybody? Spin that back. If you guys haven't seen our other videos, we're gonna link those down below. We did an overview
in honor of Star Wars Day.
In honor of Star Wars Day, we did like an overview of the series as a whole, and then we did one pros and cons on the prequels, if there were any pros, which I guess we found some, and then this is for the original,
that one,
the great trilogy that most people came to know and love.
That one.
Yes.
We rewatched the trilogy like a few months ago.
Yeah, a few months ago.
The original unaltered
trilogy. Gotta rewatch
trilogy.
it again. I mean, I'm still gonna. I'm watching before the new ones come out. But yeah, we rewatched. The trilogy.
Yeah, those are movies that I'll never not want to rewatch them. But yeah, we just got to watch them again like a few months ago. The original unaltered trilogy, the way they were meant to be seen. Hopefully Disney's watching. We'll get that Blu-ray release.
You know,
I don't think it'll happen this year, to be honest.
Fuck, I haven't bought it on Blu-ray for that reason, man. We have the DVDs.
No. You know, I think the problem is because they just released that digital collection. Like, I got a feeling we're not gonna get the Blu-ray. That's a sign that we're not gonna get the unaltered trilogy.
Hopefully for the 40th anniversary, man. They still got like 2 years.
Maybe the 40th anniversary.
I hope so.
And then that'll probably coincide with the release of Episode 8.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll get it then. But so yeah, we rewatched it.
Talk about the pros and the cons.
Yeah, we'll go over some of our pros and cons.
Because, I mean, even though these movies are fucking great, they're not perfect. I mean, no movie's perfect.
Yeah, especially rewatching Jedi. Yes. I saw more of the flaws in it. Yeah. But we'll get to that in the cons.
Yeah,
but pros. Episode 4 and 5, I mean, it goes without saying. Like,
bitch, fuck that. Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. Oh yeah, 4 and 5.
Yeah, episode 4 and 5, bitch. I mean, it just goes without saying. I mean, at least, I guess you could say arguably, but the two best entries in the series by far, I would say.
Best ones.
So I mean, we could easily make this just a debate video about what's better, episode 4 or 5. I don't know if it's tough. Like, you could always go back and forth.
I mean, I think most people can agree that 5, I guess, it's a better made film. Like, I think overall the way it was directed and the script was a lot better on 5. But I mean, 4 was like, fuck, we're presented to something that was so unique. I mean, I wish
that was a game changer for everyone.
Yeah, like I wish I would have been alive to see the impact that it had, you know, initially. Just imagining or just being presented to the Star Wars universe in that way, and so much, like, all the creativity that's behind it, you know, like all these ideas that were thrown out there, crazy weird things that I guess not very many people would have thought of making, you know, like it was presented to us and it was like so cool, and it was just so fun for kids, and I mean parents alike at the time, but like those kids grew up and like now a lot of them have children, and you know, like they were so inspired by those original films, and the impact that it had was, I mean, at least like the original film, which now is known as Episode 4.
So when you look back at it now, like it seems like obvious, like, oh yeah, of course that would work, you know, like it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just so genius on so many levels that George Lucas was able to take all these different genres, all these different types of movies, and mash them into one thing. And I mean, like, you know, as far as like marketing and movies and merchandising and everything, it was just so far ahead of its time that, I mean, and like I said, looking back, you would think, well, yeah, of course it's gonna work. I mean, you had all these like creatures, there was like all these like characters, all these ships, you know, and it just made an ideal thing for toy makers.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing. Like, I think the problem was originally when they were making these films, I mean, the people involved making them were all adults. And they looked at it as like, oh, this is fucking stupid. This is not gonna make any sense. Like,
I think even a lot of people on the set were just looking at each other like, what the hell are we making here?
But I'm like, imagine seeing that as a kid. Kids don't care. Like, they have such a creative mind that they're presented to these ideas, and it's like the coolest shit ever. There's like these crazy, like weird, like sound effects and like laser beams flying and fucking creatures and these crazy ships. The people making this film were all adults, and besides George Lucas, everybody thought it was stupid.
I think everybody looked at each other like, what the fuck are we making here?
But when you present it to like a child and the children at that time, like, fuck, it was like the most amazing thing, you know, that they had ever seen. And that's what, I mean, yeah, like that's what brought in the marketing for toys and They made like those stupid ass like specials that they had like on TV.
Yeah.
I mean that was cheesy.
The Christmas specials.
The Christmas specials, but I mean,
and the Wookiee.
yeah, but
Wookiee
it changed. It changed everything. You know, like it was like it appealed to like so many people, like all these kids, and everybody loved it. You know.
Yeah.
And like
So,
it changed everything.
Like I said, like I mentioned in our previous video, that I mean I wouldn't go so far as to say that it's the best movie ever made, but definitely for me, like the most impactful, the most influential. Not even just myself. I mean, just so many people that are, I mean, my age, his age. That I mean, and even in movies and TV and music, like it's just referenced across like so many levels. Like it's gone beyond just movies. It was a phenomenon that like we rarely ever see. Mm-hmm. You know, like it just hit on so many levels, and it caught on and just really changed the game. George Lucas pretty much created the nerd.
I mean, he had the Trekkies. Like, so that's one of the things that people that love Star Trek talk shit. Like, oh, well, Star Trek came first, and it came before Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, like I'm not gonna talk shit about Star Trek. Like, I was never a big Star Trek fan, but I'm not one to go and talk shit about it. But I mean, that was just so science fiction. It focused so much on the science fiction aspect of things, where Star Wars, it was more of a fantasy. You know, it was a space opera. It was like a western. Like, it was just like what you said. There was so many things thrown together in this, and what they created was something so unique. You know, like something that was presented to us in such a different way, in a unique way, that it just, you know, it just changed everything.
Episode 4, I mean, we could go on and on. Just that alone, the impact that movie made. But then came Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah,
and
that shit just took it to another level.
I mean, it's kind of, I mean, I don't want to compare it, say, to like The Godfather, but the fact that Part 2 was just as good, if not better, than the original one. I mean, following something that's that huge and hit on that level, and then to come with another one where they top themselves. I mean, you just rarely ever see that.
Because after he did the original one, then it's like, okay, shit, like we can, like I got the green light to do a trilogy, you know, because of how successful the original one was. So like they went into Empire knowing that they were gonna get a sequel to it, you know, like knowing like, okay, we've presented these characters, people already love them, we're just gonna flesh them out, where we're gonna get this, like, the love story thrown in there, we're gonna give like this father and son like type of rivalry between good and evil thrown in there, and the characters change and develop so much throughout the course of the second film. You know, it sets the stakes like so high, and then that leads into, you know, Return of the Jedi. But the second one, like, it just built so much upon what was presented in the original one. Yeah. Like, the original one presented everything. Like, it brought it to us, like that, like all this creativity and all these cool things, and it was awesome seeing it for the very first time. And then like Empire Strikes Back, just like it took what was presented to us, and it multiplied it, like it made it better, it just fleshed it out so much more, and it set the stakes so high, you know, like it took what was presented to us and then just put that shit like up here. I
mean, without question, had one of the biggest twists in movie history.
Yeah, I mean, looking back at it now, everybody knows it, but I mean, just imagine seeing that for the first time.
It's kind of hard to make people understand like how big a twist that was. But I know for me, when I first saw it, I was like, holy shit, like you sort of didn't see it coming. I mean, I guess maybe there were signs that were there that's where it was leading to, but I mean, even on the set they didn't even reveal, like,
did they really?
No, he didn't tell he didn't tell Mark Hamill until they were like about to film the scene, I think.
Oh, that's what was. Oh,
yeah, like
I didn't even.
I don't think anybody on the set even knew. Like, George Lucas kept it under wraps so much because he knew that how big that twist was gonna be. Yeah. I mean, in one of the best movies in movie history, I think. Like, that scene still, it gives me chills every time I watch it. It's like it's my first time seeing it. Yeah, it's awesome. when that reveal comes.
And I mean, like, that's the fucking perfect way to like end that film. We're okay, like, fuck, like
it's a cliffhanger, but in a good way,
in a great way. Yeah, and I think I like episode 4 and 5. I like them both for different reasons, you know. Like, I just, like, I love episode 4 so much, just because, like, I mean, out of all the Star Wars movies, I think that's like the more well, like I already said it before, but like that presents like so many things to us. Like, I think that one did the best job out of all of them, just introducing, you know, like George Lucas did a great job like introducing this world to us, and just pulling this into it, and we get to know like the villains and the heroes and like this intergalactic space battle that they're having, and just like it brings us into the world so well. Like I think that one out of all of them, it did the best job of just making us feel like we were inside of that universe, you know, like it did the best job of like making it feel like fuck, like this is a real thing, like this is like, even though it's fantasy, but if it's so cool and like it's something that's at least believable, you know, like if you put your creativity, like it's so cool, and it's something that you buy, like even though it is fantasy, but it's something that we're like so pulled into it so much that, you know, like I think that one did the best job of just bringing us into the universe. And I mean, I love Empire Strikes Back just because that one did the better job of just developing these characters and setting the stakes so high, and then the cliffhanger at the very end, like fuck, like it took it to the next level, you know. And
Star Wars, like in a way, is like it's self-contained. It doesn't depend on episode 5. Like it doesn't depend on episode on the movie before it the way, I mean, obviously the Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi does.
Yeah.
Like if only Star Wars had ever been made, like it would have been just perfect on its own. I mean, like he was saying, like the characters, the costumes, the sound effects, the music, like it's all just so perfect. Like that all these elements came together to make it what it was. And and then definitely like just upping the stakes. I think, well, I mean, we wouldn't find out until Return of the Jedi came out, but Empire Strikes Back was like a perfect mix, a blend of what made episode 4 great and episode 6 great, and it combined the two to make Empire, like, you know, almost a perfect movie.
Yeah, it was fucking awesome.
I don't know if any movie is ever really perfect, but that comes pretty close. Like all the elements are there. Like I have like there's very few things that I dislike about that movie.
I have so much to praise about the originals. The original was like the chemistry between like Han Solo and Leia, or I mean Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
And like their like chemistry was awesome, and that's like the one thing that fucking sucked about the prequels was that love story was so cheesy. Like it didn't fucking it was so cheesy, and it was just kind of dumb just listening to them talk. And like we look at Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford in the originals, and like you buy that love story, you know, like Han Solo's like this cocky bastard, and like Princess Leia is like this really tough, you know, like independent woman, like she doesn't need a man, but it's like they're both attracted to each other, and it's funny, but it's like it just feels a lot more believable that there's a romance there, you know, between those two characters.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, like that wasn't the central theme of the story. Like it wasn't love and romance, like, you know, like that was just part of it. And I think that's what was so awesome about like Empire Strikes Back was like it took the relationship between like Luke and Vader, and it just upped the stakes so high, and it fleshed everything else so well, and like it just fucked, like that one did the best job out of all of them, was just like developing the characters and like, you know, like getting us to love them even more than we did in the original one. Yeah, and I mean that's what I love about the Empire Strikes Back. And
it just has the overall darker tone, which, you know, can go good or bad, but in that case it worked. And then also, now that I'm thinking about it, I mentioned it in the other video, like the con about the prequels is that a big con is that it didn't have that sense of humor that the original trilogy did.
Yeah,
you know, that, I mean, and maybe that came from the writing, the acting, I don't know, but the original trilogy just had all these elements that came together,
and that has to do with like the collaborative effort that those films were, you know, like how much more collaborative it was at the time, as opposed to the prequels where it was mainly just George Lucas without having much, you know, of anyone else's input when making the films. And, I mean, that's like the one thing, like George Lucas has such great ideas even now, like even the prequels had so much potential, but like it's good to get feedback from other people to seeing what work or what might work better, you know, if doing things differently. But I mean, like I give George Lucas props for just, you know, being so creative and bringing these ideas to life, and just everyone else who was involved in it, like it was amazing.
The other thing that was great was that episode 4 was, I mean, we see the rebellion come in and win. Then episode 5 was, obviously the Empire Strikes Back is the perfect title, because then we see them get knocked on their ass, the rebellion, in the second one. You know, so you gave each side their victory. And then that's why episode 5 was brilliant the way it ended. And then leading in episode 6, I mean, obviously, like, you know, you assume that the heroes are gonna win in the 6th one, but it was good to see like, you know, that the villains didn't lose in the next part. You know, they won that match. You know, the episode 4 the rebels took it. Episode 5 the Empire came back, and you know it just seemed like all the stakes were against the rebellion at that point. And then episode 6 was, you know, all these leading into Return of the Jedi, all these stakes that were on the line, and then it all just came down to that last movie.
Let's talk about that one though. Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, so
I think well, most people could agree that that's like the least. I mean, I don't want to say it's bad.
Yeah,
but
let's ask Mark Ellis from the Schmoes.
Mark Ellis loves that.
Yeah,
one. I mean, I don't want to bash on it. I mean, but like I still enjoyed it. Like it was so fun to watch, but it was not as good as the first two.
I think I hadn't noticed the flaws in it as much until we rewatched it.
Yeah, there were some.
I mean, I still loved it. I mean, I know people had like seem to bet you for the Ewoks.
I like the Ewoks.
That was like obviously that was like the precursor to Jar Jar, which that's another con we didn't mention.
But see, like I mean, I think like people say that was the original Jar Jar, but the Ewoks are not as fucking annoying as fucking Jar Jar Binks was.
Yeah,
the Ewoks didn't even fucking talk, man.
Yeah,
like, I guess I mean
well, they talk, but
they talk, but I mean we don't understand what the fuck they're saying.
The
yubnub. But I mean, I think like Jar Jar was so fucking stupid. He was so cheesy. His voice was annoying, and
racist.
And racist. But like the Ewoks, like I think the complaint that most people have about the Ewoks is like, oh, how the fuck can these little short furry creatures take down the stormtroopers?
Well, that's one. That's
yeah,
one of
I mean that didn't make sense. But like I think the Ewoks themselves, like they were presented more to appeal to children, and I can understand them trying to bring that element. They weren't. I think the idea for the Ewoks was like it was at least fun to have that in it, and while they might have, that didn't make sense that they were able to overthrow the stormtroopers.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that was just. I don't think that was so much on the Ewoks. It's just the idea of, you know, that being what they came in the story for, and like, oh, like they fucking helped the rebellion take down the Empire. Like, I thought that was kind of dumb. But I don't bash on the Ewoks themselves so much. Like they weren't as annoying. They were nowhere near as annoying as fucking Jar Jar. Like they were there, but they didn't. I mean, it kind of brought some humor into it. Episode 6 was a lot more lighthearted than the other one, especially Empire. Like it was just more cheerful, you know, like the environment that it was in. A lot of it was on Endor, and like we see these bright colors in the forest, and it was just more, I guess, a little more uplifting. And they kind of try to appeal more to families. Yeah, like people talk shit about the Ewoks. Like I don't mind them so much. I mean, I like the Ewoks. Like the scene with Wicket and Leia was funny, like when she first puts his hands up. Yeah, like that was pretty funny. But I mean, like I don't really know why people hate on the Ewoks so much. But I mean, yeah, like the idea of them overthrowing and fighting the stormtroopers. Well, the stormtroopers were. I think that's one of the cons, I guess, we could have about the overall trilogy, was that the stormtroopers, like even though people love the stormtroopers,
they're a bunch of dumbasses.
They're a bunch of dumbasses. Like it doesn't. Like they don't really seem like they're much of a threat, you know, to the rebellion.
And then the Ewoks were also created to get us to buy hats like the one that you have.
Yeah, bitch. You guess merchandising.
They had to show you some new characters in episode 6 because they know that was gonna be the last one for a while. I guess. Well, I guess if there's any good thing that the special editions brought, which I don't mind the Yub Nub song, but I actually don't mind the song that they redid for the special edition. I don't know the name.
Yeah, I think listening to it, I think it was a little better than in the original song.
Yeah, but the Yub Nub song is classic.
Oh yeah,
So.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess like the one thing that
it seemed like more fitting music on the special edition to end the trilogy.
I mean, I think another thing too that while we do bash, or most people bash George Lucas for going back and just altering the original film, I guess there were some things that made sense cleaning up. Like I mean, like the obvious one I think is the lightsabers. Like the lightsabers, cleaning those up and making them look a lot better, remastering the film, like see things like that, or
because when you rewatch it unaltered, you see all the flaws like in the effects.
Yeah, like the what are the lightsabers, the TIE fighters like shooting the TIE fighter when the ships were flying in space. You can see the cutout.
Yeah, like the cutout like around the ships.
Around the ships, and I can understand things like that, very minor things, just cleaning it up a bit, but
like cosmetic things.
Yeah, cosmetics, like just changing it and just cleaning it up and making it look neater, but like as far as like adding in like that fucking retarded ass scene on episode 6 in Jabba's palace with that singing, like I don't know, I think that was
don't even mention that shit. Like I always forward to that. I can't fucking
that
sit through
shit.
that scene.
And then when that scene on The New Hope with Han Solo and Jabba, remember when they were walking by the Millennium Falcon? That just felt so out of place.
Yeah.
There's just like scenes like that are just so heavily like CGI.
Yeah.
That it takes away, like it takes you out of it, like because you're watching it and like you see Jabba the Hutt in episode 6, and we see like it's a fucking puppet. There's like this huge fucking like mold, a creature, and then like we see the CG version.
He's like as tall as Han Solo is.
yeah, but I don't know. It takes you out of it like that. See, shit like that is what I don't like. Like, don't add shit in that wasn't already there. Like, I can understand you cleaning up things, and then why the fuck does Darth Vader scream at the end?
Yeah.
And he's
but that was on the Blu-ray version, that wasn't even in the special editions.
Oh, was it?
No,
that was on the Blu-ray.
It was
whatever. That's fucking stupid.
It was in the
too.
Blu-ray.
I don't know why he had to scream. He did like the no, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
when he throws Palpatine down the pit, or whatever. But so I mean, rewatching Jedi, like I could see more of the flaws in it. It wasn't a perfect ending, I don't think.
No, but I mean, at least I guess. I mean, like I love the lightsaber battle between Luke and Darth Vader. Like that was the shit. That it just felt like there was so much build up to that moment, like to the moment when like Luke has like he's in the room with Darth Vader, and like he is now. At that point was he a Jedi or he still wasn't a Jedi? No, Yoda said he wasn't a Jedi yet, right? Luke had developed his Jedi powers to almost their maximum potential.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like everything's built up to this point where like you were training to take down the Empire, you know? Yeah. And like it's boiled down to this point, like, you know, like this is like the stakes are so high. Like
after he completely disobeyed Obi-Wan and Yoda.
Oh, when he went back on Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah, and ended up getting his shit chopped off.
Getting his hand chopped off. Yeah, so I mean, like in episode 6, he was a lot wiser. He had learned to control or to harness his power, you know, for good. And at that point, it's like when we see Palpatine trying to convert him to the dark side and help him take down Vader and become his new apprentice. Like, I don't know, there's just so much writing on it. And, like, I love the lightsaber battle. Like, I mean, that's one of my favorite moments from episode 6. Was I did appreciate the lightsaber, but I thought it was shit. It was built up so much, and then I think like that was at least one of the most satisfying things of the Return of the Jedi.
And then we gotta mention Admiral Akbar. It's a trap. So what are more of the cons?
Cons.
I don't know. I think overall, like my cons really lie like in I guess just with Jedi.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the stormtroopers would be like one of the.
Yeah, they're just total dipshits.
Yeah, like that.
They had like the worst fucking aim on.
The worst aim. I think it was more. I mean, that stood out a lot more on episode 6. Was because we see him getting taken out by the Ewoks.
Yeah. Like
they're a bunch of fucking idiots. Like the Ewoks took him out. I guess that just didn't really make any sense.
Yeah. Oh, and then your favorite scene when Han taps the stormtrooper on the shoulder.
Oh, that was fucking... Oh yeah, when that was like the scout trooper, I think.
Yeah.
When he's walking outside and he like fucking taps him on the shoulder, he runs around and then the
like,
dumbass
hey.
is like, hey, and he starts running after. Instead of shooting him, he runs after him, and then that's when they fucking catch him like behind the building. Like that was fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But just little things like that, I guess, that were kind of cheesy. Like episode 6 was a lot more cheesy than the other two.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was aimed more to be like a family movie. That I guess, you know, they kind of they presented it in that way where it was cheesier, like it appealed to children more than it did to it wasn't really so much for kids and adults, it was more for, I guess, targeted towards like children.
Yeah.
Or like an audience of, like a younger audience.
Overall, like I just don't have really too many complaints about the original trilogy. It just means so much to me that. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a huge fan of the series, but that's why I'm a fan of the series. Just because even rewatching them, like I just always remember why I love those movies so much. Even though I do have my problems with Jedi, it's not perfect. I wish the series could have ended a little bit better.
Yeah, but I mean overall, like the
Oh, and then the other con is that we got to see like Darth Vader was just like a crusty old white guy. Once once you see the, I guess that could have been a little bit cooler. Like when we finally get the reveal of like what Anakin like really looks like.
I don't know. Yeah, he looked too like way too fucked. Like I don't know.
I even remember like my first time watching it. I was kind of like, I'm like, that's it.
Yeah,
like that.
that's Anakin. What the fuck, man? I mean, because you hear James Earl Jones and you picture this fucking really menacing looking guy.
Yeah, that was like one of my favorite quotes from Kevin Smith when they did that the documentary. I forgot what documentary it was. And they interviewed him, and he says, "You see this guy in this huge. He's like huge, tall, like in the black costume. He's got this big, like black sounding sort of voice. Like you take the mask off, and it's just like some crusty old white guy." Which I don't. I mean, there's no disrespect to who the hell was the guy that played Anakin?
I forgot it. Sorry, I don't remember his fucking name. But
yeah, we'll put it at the bottom.
He only came out in that when he took off the helmet, and then at the very end. But even in the
when you see like their spirit or whatever.
But not if you watch the alternate one, because you see Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, like would it look be like, who the fuck is that guy?
Yeah, I don't remember what my dad looked like when he was young. Like, who the fuck is that? That didn't make sense.
That's the other thing is that we look at those movies so differently. Like if those movies had come out now, I think people would bash it a lot more for the faults in it. I think like now with the internet age and people being so opinionated and having that voice, like I think if that trilogy happened now and then we got that reveal at the end of you see what Anakin looks like.
Oh yeah, who were going ape shit?
It would have been like, who the fuck is that? Like, they couldn't have thought of somebody better to be Anakin.
Yeah, and I mean, that was one of the cons.
It would have been like Matt Damon, like when you see him in Interstellar.
Hey, you're spoiling the movie. Whatever.
No, it's not a spoiler. If you haven't seen it, you don't. Oh, I guess that's kind of a spoiler. And then also incest is a con.
Well, bitch, you didn't bust nuts, man.
Well, they came damn near close.
Yeah, but what else was you supposed to do? He didn't know I was a sister, man.
Yeah, but still.
What?
Yeah, looking back at it, it still is kind of.
Yeah, it's weird now,
but it's kind of weird.
I mean, what the fuck were they supposed to do? Man, they didn't know.
So those are some of our cons. As far, I'm sorry we didn't bash it more. I mean, I guess there are other flaws, but they're just not really coming to me right now. I'm not, like I said, I'm not even looking at it through rose-colored glasses. Like, I'm not saying it just because I'm a fan of the series, but like I said, that's why I'm a fan of the series. Just because to me, to me that they're that great that, you know, like, I don't know, like there's just very few things that I find fault with it. I mean, they're not perfect. You know, Empire comes pretty close, but you know, those are just some of like, you know, it was sort of like the opposite. Like we bashed like the prequels a lot more and praised it a little bit, and this one, like, we can just go on and on praising it.
Yeah, I mean, they're not perfect, but I mean, like, there's no comparing them. The original ones were way fucking better than the prequels. Like, there's not even like an argument there. Like, if a fucking kid tells you that they liked one of the prequel ones the best out of Trilogy, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So
and so like now, you know, come this December, if I live that long, we'll get to experience the start of a whole new trilogy. J.J. Abrams taking over Force Awakens, and then it'll be exciting to see what Rian Johnson's gonna do with Episode 8. I don't know if they've picked the Episode 9 director yet. But yeah, it's exciting, and then especially with both teaser trailers that have dropped so far, you know, it makes it even more exciting to see what direction because now at this point it's like, you know, you have fans of the original trilogy getting a chance to, I mean, like, I know J.J. Abrams was like, that was one of his big influences with Star Wars. So I mean, imagine being in his shoes to where you know that you can take over this franchise and make something as a fan, not just as like, well, I'm just here to, you know, just make like a huge summer blockbuster. Like, he's making it from a fan's perspective, and I mean, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
For him to make something that's gonna stand the test of time and can live up to the original trilogy.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's tough. I mean, I don't know. I
mean, we can all agree J.J. Abrams is like, yeah, some people don't like some of his things, but I mean, like, overall, looking at his track record, like, he's had like so many fucking great things, you know, TV shows, films, like, there's been so many, like, we had Lost, he did Alias too, right?
Yeah, Alias,
Lost, yes,
Super 8.
I don't actually never watched Super 8. I like Cloverfield. I know people talk shit about it, but I like Cloverfield.
Mission Impossible 3.
Mission Impossible 3. And Star Trek. Like, I'm not a huge Star Trek fan, but I thought both Star Trek. What did
He made me a Star Trek fan.
Did he direct the second one?
Yeah.
Oh, he did. Yeah, Star
That's
Trek.
why he left that franchise to do Star Wars.
That's the shit, man. You fucking get to do Star Trek and
Yeah.
Star Wars as a fan. That's
Even though Star Trek fans would tell you that he kind of fucked up the second
I
one
don't care.
with Khan, after they kept denying that Benedict Cumberbatch was gonna be
that he was
Khan.
gonna be Khan, yeah.
They kept denying it, and then it turned out he was. But
Yeah.
that's another.
I don't know.
discussion
I
for
can't.
another time.
I don't want to put too much input into Star Trek and other Trekkies will talk shit to
Yeah.
me. But I mean,
But-
I liked his.
Yeah, I think he knows what the fans are asking from him for these movies, and it seems like he's making it a throwback to the original trilogy. He's sort of making it more practical effects.
Yeah, and I mean, no matter what, like, there's gonna be people that bash it. Like, I mean, you can tell right now, like, even if they're good and most people like them, there's always gonna be a group of people that are gonna talk shit and hate on them. And I mean, you're not gonna please everyone, but I mean, I think his
I think he's coming in from a fan's perspective.
yeah, like the direction that he's taking it into, like he's bringing it back to like what the things that made the original trilogy great, doing it practical and just bringing a lot of the elements that made the originals so great. Like the potential is like it has so much potential and there's so much writing on it that I don't know. Like I really have a lot of faith in him that he's gonna do a good job. So I'm hoping that he delivers on that.
Yeah, and especially it's just a testament to the greatness of the original trilogy that we got 3 like damn near dog shit movies, but like we're still excited for episode 7.
Yes.
Because that's how much the original trilogy means to us, and those characters mean to us, that we're gonna, instead of going back and seeing all this backstory, we're finally gonna get a continuation of the series. And the fact that we got 3 movies that we bash for the most part and don't look too fondly on, that we're still excited to be getting 3 new movies. And especially with all the teasers that we've seen up to this point, I think it brought that excitement even to another level. So we'll see where the series goes from this point on. So yeah, those are just some of our thoughts reflecting on our rewatch of the original trilogy. If you guys can get your hands on these versions, I mean, you can find on eBay if you dig a little bit. They're a little pricey for being DVDs.
Well,
but
that's not the.
Yeah, this
That's
is.
the
Well, you know what?
altered
Maybe
one.
I should show that actually. This is the boxes from the special editions one, which I bought like a dumbass. But
Yeah, but I mean, you got the DVD.
yeah. So if you can find them, it's this one, that one, and this one. These were the first ones. I think the first ones, right? That came out. Like the first release of the unaltered trilogy on DVD. So if you guys can find them, look for them a little bit on eBay. Like I said,
They're a little pricey.
they're a little pricey
But if
for
you
being
want the
DVDs,
original-
but
The true original theatrical version of the films, that's it right there.
yeah, and
It has all the defects on it. You can see
Yeah.
the fucked up lightsabers. The
but I think that sort of adds to the appeal of the movies. I think is that they're
it's really grainy.
that they're not perfect, but we still love them anyway.
Yeah.
But so yeah, if you guys, I would recommend if you've never seen it, or if you have kids that have never seen haven't seen them at all, but maybe saw the special editions. I mean, this is like the perfect way. This is how they're meant to be seen until we get the proper Blu-ray release. But yeah, hunt them down, and I'd recommend you watch them if you haven't already. We mentioned earlier, if you want to link to our other videos where we talk about the series overall and the prequels, we'll link those down below. So let us know your thoughts, what sort of impact the original trilogy had on you, if at all. And yeah, give us your feedback in the comments, like, subscribe, share. And this is a tribute to Star Wars on Star Wars Day, so may the 4th be with you.
This is Star Wars.